Hello everyone, welcome to a new video in this dev blogging series. So in this video, I'm going to talk about how I deploy a fast API app to Google Cloud Run. So this video, it's all about Python, fast API, Google Cloud Run, Docker, and related. So having said that, let's start. So let's jump right into the situation as usually. So in case you remember, I was building an app for a sports club to manage monthly payments. So the thing is that I am following a iteratively approach and I want to build from the most simple thing and starting adding more features as needed. So in this case, I want to deploy a first very simple version of the app to Google Cloud Run so I can have my app running and I can then now focus on development and adding more features. Okay, so that's the situation. Let's go to the task. So what is the task? In this case, the task is to make a first version of this app with Fast API and deploy it to Google Cloud Run. Okay, that's the task. Let's start with the action. So the action, let's get into more details here. So the first thing that I do, it was to generate a scaffolding of the project by relying on, in this case, GitHub Copilot. But I just use it for doing the scaffolding. I asked something like, hey, help me with the scaffold of a Fast API project, blah, blah, blah. And then I get my first very simple version of the app. But I was in charge of adding or making updates in this app so it can be right for me in this case. So you can say, for example, I have the domain. In this case, I have models such as student, payment info. We have the entry points. So here we are importing an student service and we are using this to, for example, get all the students' information, get a student by ID, and also to create a student. If we check the repositories, here we have the student repository. In this case, I'm starting with a in-memory repository, and then later I will iteratively add in a specific repository, in this case for 5 stars, which is the tool that we will use for as the main data layer. Okay, but for now, an in-memory repository, it's fine. So here I have my interface, which is the repository with the abstract methods. And here we have the services, which is just a abstraction to uh, call the repository and expose common methods. Okay, so that's the thing. Here is the first version of the project, and so after I have updated some things in the API, the next thing to do is to Dockerize this. So here is my Docker image, Docker file. I must say that I usually copy some generic templates from different projects. In this case, I usually for fast API projects I copy the latest updated version of a Docker file that I have. So here's just a standard Docker file image, requirements, a copy, expose, and everything else. Okay, so the next thing to do, and which is something interesting, is how to actually deploy this. So for that reason, so for that purpose, I rely on some bad commands because I'm currently working on Windows. So I have a command for building the image, a Docker build tag. So here's my username in Docker Hub, and this is the name of my image and the tag. So this is what I use to build the image. Then I use Docker push to actually push this image to my Docker Hub repository. And I have another batch just for running. So let's quickly review how this looks in Docker Hub. For example, here is my profile in Docker Hub. And here we have the image that I just pushed. You can see 1 hour ago. And here's my image. Okay. So this is the current step, and why this is important because to deploy to Google Cloud Run, we have several methods, but the one that I'm currently using now is to make a Google Cloud Run service to point to my Docker image. So it can use that and deploy the service. Okay, so before we jump into the Google Cloud Run thing, let's quickly review what I faced in the billing side. Okay, guys, this is just a comment aside. I just set it up an alert for cost for this project. Remember, I'm not expecting to spend money on this yet, so for that reason, I want to make sure I am in control of cost. So for that reason, I created this alert called about surprises. Okay, so having said that, let's continue with the Cloud Run thing. Okay, here you can see, let's see if I can. Yeah, so for example, here I set it up the URL of my Docker image. I set up the port and just some simple specifications to not use like uh, too many resources, just standard resources, and at minimum I would say to execute my application. Okay, so once we have this, I'm able to deploy my for the first version of my API. So this is the URL, and if we go here, which I already go, we can see I have my API ready. Okay, so here we have the student's endpoint, create a student, and get student by ID. Let's do a quick test, and here we can see we have the single one item that I set it up on the code for the in-memory repository. Okay, so that was the action. Let's see, let's make a summary of what is the result. So the result is that I have an API ready in Google Cloud Run, as you can see, and this is available through internet. So please do not hit this too hard because it's just a starting project, but yes, it's available through internet by now. So that's the result, and now we have an idea about how to deploy a fast API service to Google Cloud Run. Of course, this is a very simple app, and we can automate a lot of things, and for sure we will do in the future. But now you have an idea of how this is done. Okay, so that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I see you in the next video.